When I talked with you in October of 2004, you had a story of flying on a plane with Henri Dutoit
Yeah, from here.
from here
Yeah,
to New
to
York
New
to
York
meet Stravinsky.
to meet with Stravinsky. Yeah.
And you said that's a story for another day. Now it's
Yeah.
another day. Your association, your meeting with Igor Stravinsky, what sort of person was he like?
Well, you see, I met him that day. You know, I was very surprised. I was here for the premiere of these Le Double, the second symphony by Dutoit,
Dutoit,
which
right?
was performed here, commissioned by the orchestra, and performed under Charles Munch. And I happened to be in the plane next day, as I think I told you, with Dutoit, and he told me that he was going to listen to Stravinsky. So I stayed in New York. I called a friend. I said, "Can I stay with you?" You know, I didn't have money, and so, but I wanted to go there, and that was in the town hall in New York that they were working, and so I arrived at the rehearsal in the morning, and I was not accepted. There was Bob Kraft, and he was very, very strict. He didn't want anyone there. So I was absolutely desperate to get in somehow, and came Lucas Foss. Lucas Foss came, and I said, "Oh, Lucas, I had, seen him in Tanglewood. He was there.
Right.
I knew him well, and on top of it, he spoke and still speaks an excellent French. So he was always happy to speak with me because to show how good he is, in French. And so I said, Lucas, I don't know what to do. See, I stay here. I have to meet Stravinsky, but they don't want to let me in. And so he said, "Oh, don't worry, come and turn the pages." I said, "What pages?" I said, "Well, we play Les Noces, Les Noces. And I'm playing one of the pianos, and the others are Aaron Copland, Barber, Sessions, and myself, the four pianists, conducted by Stravinsky."
No kidding.
Yeah, so
Whoa.
I actually met all these people all together. Copeland I had met in Tanglewood as well, but Barber I'd never seen, and Sessions either. And of course Stravinsky was there just in front of me because I was turning the pages in the middle, so I was just underneath him. And so I had the opportunity to go to all the rehearsal concerts, but then also the recordings. It was recorded, and on the cover page of the former first edition of this record, I don't know if it's still can't find this, but I am on the picture with all these five composers turning the pages to Lucas Foss with my glasses. It was very funny. So I had a great pleasure meeting Stravinsky, and he was also very happy to speak French. He had this charming accent, Russian accent, and this kind of Anglo-Saxon gentleman behavior, plus that. So I was so surprised because I had never noticed that he was short. He was a short man. When you see his face, and think of the music that he has, in my imagination, he was not that short. So I was kind of surprised to see how short he was. And then afterwards, of course, when I looked at the pictures with Prokofiev and Diaghilev and Anselm and so on, you can see that he was smaller than the others. And we spoke a lot about Switzerland, where he spent all the years during the First World War, because, it was a tradition for these people to come to either France or Switzerland for the summer before the war. I'm
Right.
talking First World War. And that's why he composed part of the Rite of Spring, Petrushka, in Switzerland, in Clarens, near Montreux, where he was living. And then he got stuck there after the Sarajevo affair, when the
In
declaration of war
1914. Yep.
in 1914,
Yep.
and he could not return to Russia. So he stayed, and he lived in Morges, where actually I live today. And imagine I live in that little city which is between Lausanne and Geneva, and this is where he finally composed The Soldier's Tale, in a house which is 200 meters from my own little apartment on the lake, and
Right.
the
Right by the rail
promenade in
line.
front of
Yeah.
a lake is called Quai Igor Stravinsky. So I live it's kind of a funny thing that my address should be K. Igor Stravinsky. Anyway, so he was very happy to talk about these years. And in 1917 was the Russian Revolution, so he could not return after the war either. So he was stuck, but he stayed in Switzerland during during the war, and after moved to France, and was part of this movement of Rinascimento with a classicism, which was very fashionable after the war. And this is where he wrote all these things, Pulcinella, Apollon Musagette, Oedipus Rex, and all these works, neoclassical themes. Now, and then he actually moved to America, as you know, and he went to Los Angeles, and this is where actually he composed the symphony in C.
Except the third movement, which was composed in Cambridge.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's right. Oh, my God. I forgot that one.
So you saw Stravinsky conduct and record Les Noces in close proximity. Can you share with us your observations as a conductor later in life and how that informs your conducting of Stravinsky?
Well, you see, Stravinsky was not really a conductor. He was, this great personality and composer that everyone respected because, he's such a mind and such an important a monument in the 20th century music. But he was not very gifted, and he was certainly not very efficient in terms of how to rehearse and what to do. And his technique did help very much. But everyone was so concentrated and willing to do well. And he always, the recordings that he has done were made with the best musicians of the American stage, put together with that Columbia Symphony Orchestra, was incredibly good.
Right.
And so he was helped sometimes on the rehearsal. But, it was very interesting. For instance, he changed some rhythms, beating not what he had written originally, but a little bit differently. And you see, I had studied the score
of
with Ansermet.
Yeah.
With Ansermet. And Ansermet had told me, here we should not do this in 6/8, but in 3 and so on, because of the big B theory, that syncopation of the 3/4/6/8 and so on. So I had put this in my score, but I didn't have the score obviously with me when I was in New York because I didn't know that I was going to meet with him. So I just rushed to buy another score, and I took these, the way he was beating, and then I compared. And it was exactly what Ansermet did. So I was wondering for a long time who had influenced who. And I'm pretty sure that it was Ansermet, who was a very stubborn and extremely strong personality, had convinced Stravinsky that this 6/8 was a 3/4 and so on. So it was a very, very, very strange experience. But it was wonderful to be in that in middle of all these composers. It was a tribute to the great master. That all these 4 composers were performing the 4 piano parts of this score. And the chorus and the soloist. It was really a great experience, yeah.
At UBS, financial solutions come from listening carefully to what our clients say, but even more carefully to what they don't say. You could call it understanding. We just call it you and us, UBS.